Welcome to another tropical weather update on the tropics. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like for more updates like this one if you like weather related content. Here's a look at the Atlantic right now on the National Hurricane Center website. And as you can see, we still have Tropical Storm Nana there, really approaching Brazil there and Central America. What was Tropical Storm Omar has been downgraded to a tropical depression as it had been moving into very unfavorable wind shear. They're really pushing the limits of this system and really weakening it as it's, moving in this general direction here. So we've now seen the decrease of this to a tropical depression. We also have two disturbances here in the main development region, which, as we know, is where most systems form as we get into September, and we're really starting to get to that peak hurricane season. Here's what National Hurricane Center says. Nana continues westward towards the coast of Brazil, could become a hurricane before landfall. At this point, I really don't see it happening, and I'll show you guys that at the end of the video. Omar weakens to tropical depression, so that's that. So now let's look at those two disturbances and the chances of them developing, and then we'll look more into them also at the end of the video. Here are two disturbances there. This one has been designated Invest 91L right there, so that's now an Invest, and then this one remains a disturbance at the moment. 30 to 20% chance for the first one there, and then 10 to 60% chance with this one. So they could both form into Paulette and Rene, I think, or Rene, but they're pretty much going to be moving, in this general direction here towards the Antilles. So right now this is really what we're looking at with this one moving just off the coast of Africa, and this one's really just going to stay in Miranda in this general area for a while before turning a little bit like this. So that's really what we're going to be seeing with that one. It might actually do some kind of little loop there, but I'm going to show you guys after that. So first off, let's have a look at the Atlantic wide before we look at the cone forecast for both Omar and Nana. Here's the satellite view, or convective satellite view of the Atlantic Ocean right now. You can see Omar here really getting sheared up. Here is Nana here approaching. As you can see, they're approaching Brazil. You can see that low pressure center. Look how sheared it is from the rest, with that convection being on the southern side here. Here's Invest 91L here, and this is the other disturbance right here. So pretty large disturbance there. We're tracking. So both of them, we're tracking them for potential formation, as well as Nana here as it approaches landfall. So a lot to talk about in today's video, but we'll get right into it. First off, here's the track for Nana. And as you can see, hurricane warnings are in effect for the coast of Brazil there, although no longer it's possible, according to the National Hurricane Center, that it becomes a hurricane right before landfall there. Again, I don't see it happening, but here are all those watches for the coast of Honduras, warnings for Brazil, and tropical storm warnings getting all the way into Mexico there. We're also going to be getting tropical storm force winds spreading all the way into Guatemala here, then weakening to tropical depression and post-tropical depression before, heading into the eastern Pacific here near Mexico. So it's going to really bring, pretty widespread impact all the way potentially into Mexico there. This entire square here could be getting some pretty severe impacts, gusty winds up to 60 to 70, if not hurricane force winds with this, which is why we do have this hurricane warning there. It's not for nothing, so absolutely pay attention to those warnings. We're quickly going to take a look at tropical storm Omar. 35 mile per hour winds, really not, it's going to become a post-tropical depression very soon. So that's that. Okay, so here's the satellite view of tropical storm Nana, continuing on its way towards the coast of Brazil there. Honestly, to me, it has been weakening cyclically, and I really don't see it becoming a tropical storm at this point. Still a lot of convection to it, or hurricane, but you can see it moving pretty much due west. The low pressure center is actually pretty displaced from the center here with that little bit of wind shear there from the system. But we're really probably starting to get those effects here in Honduras area, and then and Brazil here starting to get that cloud cover coming up. So generally a fairly small system, but lots of convection to it. So definitely something that we gotta watch very very closely as it gets towards the coast here of Brazil. Um, Oops. So yeah. So really, again, you can see that brand new blow up of convection here. It's trying to get closer to the center because the center was a little bit almost exposed at the moment. So that convection is really, really trying to get closer to there. Here's a look at tropical depression. Omar. Now you may be whoa. So the center actually is right here, right? The center is right around here, and you can see that convection really pushed to the southeast there. So really, really pushed down, and it's kind of getting eaten up by this kind of front thing coming from the top there. So that's why it's really, really weakening at the moment. But you can see that little swirl there. I don't know if you can notice it, but in those dark grays here, you can see that little swirl here. So that's where the center is, right here. The center of circulation for the system, with the tropical storm force winds extending pretty much a little bit like this. So very few tropical storm force winds there from the system. Alrighty, so here's a look at Tropical Storm Nana's intensity guidance, and this is this is one of the reasons why I don't think it will become a hurricane. It has less than 12 hours, or if not, around 12 hours left, and I don't see it becoming a hurricane before then at this point. So the models are agreeing with me, maybe a slight strengthening, and that's really it according to the models themselves. And I 100% agree. I think it will remain at 60 miles per hour, decrease, and maybe regain tropical storm strength as it gets into the Eastern Pacific. So here's my forecast, and I really don't think it's going to increase any much from where it currently is sitting at. And as you can see, according to tropical tidbits, it may have weakened very close to 50 miles per hour now, and I really wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to show you guys, but only one model brings it to tropical storm status, and at that point, or hurricane status, at that point it would be inland. So obviously, at this point, none of the models show it becoming a hurricane, and I really, really agree. At this point, I really don't see it becoming a hurricane. Here's the latest recon data. And as you can see, once again, the pressure has been decreasing. We went as low as 996, and now we're down at 1001, and that just shows you at some point we were finding those 60 knots up there. Now we're only finding down at 45, and it could honestly be at 50 miles per hour, and you can see that center almost exposed. So I mean, it's really, really weakening at that point. But we do have a new recon in there, so maybe as this new convection blows up, maybe it will be able to strengthen slightly before landfall. But at this point, I just don't really see it. You can see that recon mission going in there. I mean, all everything showing that it's really probably not going to strengthen a whole lot more. Here's Invest 91L, so this disturbance here. Here's a look at it. Again, it's just a small little blob of convection there, but you can see that easterly flow here. You can clearly see that easterly flow here, a little bit of westerly flow here, a little bit of a southerly flow here, and a little bit of maybe some kind of northerly flow here. So you can see some kind of center here trying to form there, some kind of closed off center, and it is kind of closed off, but it is really displaced from the convection once again, so wind shear is really affecting it. But what we try to look for tropical cyclones is, of course, that closed off center, and right now we seem to be seeing that closed off center with the winds here. You can clearly see those winds here moving in this direction, that direction here and then back here in this direction, so we can clearly see this is the low pressure center here. But the problem is it just has all this convection well displaced to it, so we really need this once again to cover its center, so that it is going to be able to form more and potentially form, but it is going to be rendering around the same place, a little bit of rendering, so it could have the time to get its act together, etc., as it renders around this location there. You can see here the track from the spaghetti models, and it's pretty much this is where it is right now, I believe. And models do agree it's gonna render pretty much in this location. Some models take it a little bit like this. Some models kind of go like this. So it's pretty much gonna render around this general location and move eventually towards the northeast there. But look, in 48 hours, still in the same place. 72 hours, pretty much in the same place. It's not going to be really moving until hour 120, 168. So it's really going to be rendering around this general location, which could give it the time to get its act together before it really starts to, maybe does a loop like this, kind of move out. So it's going to have some time to move, as you can see here, and to get its act together. Before it heads towards the lower Antilles. Once again, here is the guidance, and they're agreeing that while it renders for the next 120 hours, it will probably remain under tropical storm status. A couple models bring it around tropical storm in 60 hours, which of course not out of the question, but models do start to strengthen a little bit more in 120 to 132 hours when it really starts to move a little bit to the northeast. So maybe around 50% of the models bring it to tropical storm status. So it does have, I think, a pretty good chance of potentially becoming some kind of tropical cyclone in the next 84 to 96 hours. So here's my forecast with this. I do see it remaining a tropical, under a tropical, so for the next 84 hours, and then very, very slowly strengthening into a potentially a hurricane. Yeah, so this is pretty much mine right there. And I do really think that it probably could become Rene, I'm sorry, if I pronounce it right, or Paulette. Definitely a possibility for the system. Now let's have a look at the other disturbance here that we do have. It's not an invest, so we're gonna have to zoom in on it, I guess you could say. But we're still gonna try to have a look here. It's in the Eastern Atlantic. So here it is. When this is gonna load, of course. But you can see here that center, so you can see where that is. You can see those winds going that way here and this way here. So both of those systems seems to have somewhat of a close center. So I keep saying I'm sorry, I'm kind of like addicted to saying but oops. But as you can see here, we can see that those easterly wind, a little bit of southerly winds, a little bit of not really any westerly winds, but a little bit of northeast winds. So you can see pretty much a close center there. So that low pressure center is around here, but it's a pretty massive wave. You get that center here, and a little bit of convection dispersed to the east of this. So it's a pretty massive system. We also have another tropical wave here coming. Again, something to watch for potential development. But look how massive it is compared to 91L there. And of course, it does have a chance to merge together because by the time this has moved eastward, this could still be rendering, somewhere around here. So it could still be pretty much in the same location by that point. All right, now let's have a look at some more spaghetti models for Invest 91L.